Anuji, are we good to start?
Yeah, we're good to start.
Recording in progress.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for attending this virtual meeting. It is my pleasure and privilege to welcome you on behalf of Black Rose Industries Limited and SKP Securities to this FY22 financial results webinar. We have with us Mr. Anup Jatia, Executive Director, and Mr. Amrish Daga, Joint CFO and Investor Relations Officer. A reminder, this meeting is being recorded for compliance reasons, and during the discussion, there may be certain forward-looking statements which must be viewed in conjunction with the risks the company faces. We'll have the opening remarks from Mr. Jatia, followed by a Q&A session. Over to you, Anupji.
Thank you, Navinji. Welcome everybody to the annual webinar for Black Rose for FY22. I hope everybody's been doing fine. I believe COVID is more or less now behind most of us. So I hope things are getting back to normal for everybody. Today we have a presentation again presented by Mr. Daga. He's our Joint CFO and Investment Relations Officer. So I'm going to ask Mr. Daga to take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Anupji, and a very warm welcome to everyone. I'll just start the presentation now. I hope the screen is visible, so allow me to start.
Yes, Amrish, it's visible. Please go ahead.
So we just start with a small disclaimer, as Navinji already mentioned. During the course of this presentation, there might be certain forward-looking statements which are based on our current expectation, and they carry their risks along with the statements. Just to give a brief idea about the business we are into. So we have two divisions, the chemical distribution and the chemical manufacturing. The chemical distribution business is basically where we import and distribute a wide range of specialty and performance chemicals from leading chemical companies who are our principals. They are mainly based out of Japan. We also have certain principals from Germany and Thailand. The next segment, the chemical manufacturing business, is where we started our acrylamide liquid plant in 2013 with an initial capacity of 10,000 metric tons. The current installed capacity for this plant is 32,000 metric tons, which includes 20,000 for merchant sales and the balance 12,000 for our in-house captive consumption.
Amrish, can you be a bit louder? Audience is not able to listen to you properly. Can you be a bit louder, please?
Sure, I will do that. Is it fine now?
Better.
Okay. The next product is the downstream polyethylene liquid, where we have an installed capacity of 40,000 metric tons per annum. This is also established at the same Jagadia unit of ours. And it caters to the ceramic tile industry in Morbi, primarily. During the course of the previous quarter, we also commenced our commercial operations for the N-methylol acrylamide, which is the new addition to our portfolio. This plant has an installed capacity of 2,000 metric tons per annum. And currently, we are already having small scale supplies, and trials are already underway in the larger clients. Further, the next two products in line of development is acrylamide solid plant with an installed capacity of 3,600 metric tons per annum. This plant is fully ready, and we are just awaiting some government clearances, which will, as soon as that is attained, we will start the commercial production for this. And the final product in this portfolio currently is the polyacrylamide solid. We will be setting up a 10,000 metric tons per annum plant for that. And currently, we are focused with our R&D efforts in this product. We also have a 100% subsidiary in Japan, which is BR Chemicals. It's a local chemical trading company and caters to supplies of chemicals in Japan and elsewhere. Now, moving on to the financials, we first look at the profit and loss statement for both the standalone and the consolidated. This gives an annual comparison between the FY22 and FY21. We had very good growth of 45% in total revenue from operations during the previous year, despite all the challenges. On a consolidated level, we clocked just short of 500 crores for the year. And we had a healthy PAT of 16%, even though the margins were slightly lower, but that will be explained during the course of the next slides. Moving on to the balance sheet for the standalone and consolidated, we see that we generated a total of about 9 crore rupees in the standalone, which were primarily used to service our ongoing projects, which the financing for which was entirely met by our internal accruals, and also to retire certain financial obligations. And that has resulted in the company being a totally zero long-term debt company, which is well reflected in our total debt equity ratio, which is 0.10. The return on equity and the capital employed are also pretty healthy for the company. Moving on to the revenue and Ebitda for the previous year, we see that the company clocked the highest ever annual revenue and also the Ebitda in our history, with a 45% growth in the top line. The additional revenue for the company was primarily driven by acrylonitrile, metacresol, and ethylonamines in the distribution segment, whereas in the manufacturing, the PAM liquid provided the impetus to the company's growth. We already have a large, substantial percentage of the domestic market for acrylamide liquids, and further growth in business was expected from the exports, but it was slightly subdued due to the high freight costs. The sales and profitability for the fourth quarter was impacted by the sudden turn of events across the world, the war in Europe, as well as the pandemic-induced lockdown in China affected the overall sales during the fourth quarter. Now, also we have in this slide, we have provided the breakup between the chemical distribution and the chemical manufacturing business. And we see that both businesses have very healthy Ebitda. In the distribution, we have an Ebitda percentage of about 12%. And in manufacturing, it's about 22%. Quickly moving on to the revenue and geographical mix, we see that currently the company is consistently getting about 2/3 of its revenue from the distribution business and the balance from manufacturing. And we expect this balance to now turn more towards the manufacturing as new products get started during the course of this year. and we aim to have a much more balanced portfolio for our manufacture and distribution mix. In terms of exports, the exports grew slightly by about 2% compared to the domestic sales. And going forward, once the freight rates gets reduced, we expect this percentage to be even higher. Now moving on to the details regarding the distribution business. When we look at the financials, the total overall revenue has jumped by about 48% from the previous year. Again, this was, as mentioned earlier, driven by products like acrylonitrile, isophthalic acid, ethylenamines. The addition of two new products, hexamine and neopentyl glycol, also added to this additional revenue. However, there was a little bit of a reduction in volumes, in the sales volume of resorcinol, mainly because of the reduced demand as well as the oversupply in China, which led to the contraction of the market. The top 5 products for the company contributed about 80% to the revenue and 67% to the profits of the company. Moving on to the financials related to manufacturing, the overall revenue increased by 40%, over 40%. There was a significant jump in the sales of polyacrylamide liquid, which were more than 300% higher, as the company gained new market share and we were able to penetrate into new customer on the strength of our product and its performance. The company's brand has been very well established now, and we have become a strong alternative to the already established competitors. The manufacturing business, as I mentioned earlier, the growth could have been much higher had it not been for the freight cost, because that made access to certain markets not very feasible to us. Also in the fourth quarter, the higher carry forward raw material cost of acrylonitrile, which we will be seeing the trend in the next slide, led to reduced margin for us. The next slide regarding the acrylonitrile and the acrylamide price trend. We see the year started with acrylonitrile at close to historic highs. It had gone up to about $3,200 during the March of FY21. It started the FY22 at nearly those levels and steadily came down. We were, however, able to increase our price realization on the strength of our product and market penetration. And we maintained a good spread throughout, even when the prices were stable and they were falling. Now, moving on to the next slide, I would request Mr. Jatia to take you through the outlook for the current period.
Okay. So regarding the outlook for FY23, we expect basically the distribution business to continue to remain strong. There is, of course, the markets have more and more understood the value of having reliable supply chains, especially considering all the various logistics issues that people are facing right now. And we feel that is one of the areas where our company is has an advantage. We expect growth in products like metacresol, isophthalic acid, resorcinol this year, ethylenamines, of course, and also in the polyacrylamides, which we currently import and supply. We have also, in fact, formed a dedicated team for the sales of polyacrylamide in order to be prepared for the our own production whenever that in FY23, FY24, when we start our own production of PAM solid. So be ready for the sales at that time. Of course, we will continue also to have new products added into our distribution portfolio. We have a lot of support from our principals, and these principals continue to provide us with new items, new products to sell in the Indian market. And this is what we're expecting further growth to come from. Regarding the acrylamide liquid, currently I would say that the domestic market is slightly subdued. One of the reasons is due to the general slowdowns that we see in the ceramic tile industry. Another reason is the dumping of a lot of cheap acrylamide powder currently from China because of the local Chinese lockdowns. We expect this to reverse very soon, especially probably by the end of this month or early in June, once the Chinese lockdowns will be lifted. As we've seen in other markets as well, whenever these prolonged lockdowns are lifted, we normally see a sudden jump in demand. And we're expecting that to happen in China as well. In India, overall, we see that FY23, there should be a good demand growth, considering the growth that is happening currently in the real estate sector. Acrylamide is used to manufacture construction chemicals. It's used to manufacture, of course, as you know, in the tile manufacturing process. And also it is a very important ingredient in paint emulsions. So all of these areas are areas where we feel there is a good growth to be expected in India this year. Of course, fluctuation in raw material prices is going to be a continuous affair. Even last year, we have seen raw materials go from $3,200 at the very start of the year down once to almost $1,700 levels, and then again up to $2,000, $2,100 levels, and then again down to $1,800, $1,900 levels. So this is a part and parcel of this business. Our procurement patterns and our procurement policies basically ensure that we are competitive at all levels of raw material, and we will continue to be robust as far as our operations are concerned in the raw material procurement. We will also, of course, keep pushing our business in the export markets. As Ambrish mentioned earlier, growth in acrylamide business will mainly come from the export side. The domestic market is already well serviced by us. So the growth will come mainly from the export sides. And we're hoping, and we're also seeing right now already, the freight rates have started to come down a little bit. And as the freight rates reduce, we expect our volumes to also grow, especially to markets where local producers of acrylamide are already present. Markets where there are no local producers of acrylamide are not affected much by the freight costs because they are anyway dependent upon imports. But there are other markets where acrylamide is produced, and that's where we tend to be unviable against the local production because of high freight costs. Also, we have applied now for REACH registration. As many of you will know, REACH registration is a requirement for selling products into the European market. We have seen currently, due to the war in Ukraine, the gas prices, energy costs in the European area have increased significantly. We are receiving a lot of inquiries from Europe to supply our acrylamide, but because we do not have the REACH registration, we are unable to do so right now. So this is another area where we are now pushing forward so that we can obtain these registrations quickly. On the PAM liquid side, we are looking at increasing our market share in 2020, starting from June 2022. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, there is currently a slowdown, you may want to call it a slowdown in the ceramic tile sector, mainly due to insufficient gas supplies to the sector and also due to the increased cost of gas. We expect some of these things to start normalizing by June. And that in turn will help improve the financial conditions of a lot of these tile manufacturers. We want to push our product at a time when they are more financially healthy at their end. And that is why we are currently maintaining our sales in the market, but we have not been pushing aggressively, which we expect to start doing again from June. Based on our expectations and based on our feedback from the market, we expect that we can grow our current volumes by 2x, if not by 3x, during this year. And we are continuing to improve our products. We are continuing to improve our service to make the changeover for customers from their existing suppliers to our product more seamless. On the NMA side, we have started supplies of small quantities right now to the local market since last quarter. The larger customers, we are awaiting their product approvals, since they have a longer process for approval. So far, we have received only positive feedback. We are expecting these approvals to come in very soon. And based on just the local market requirements, we expect that we should be able to achieve around 600 tons of sales in this financial year. Regarding acrylamide powder, we are expecting the approvals very shortly. The file is currently at the last stage of approval, and hopefully within this week or next week, we should be able to hear some feedback on this. We in fact already have orders received from potential clients, and we are awaiting for these approvals so that we can start producing and start shipping out product to these customers immediately. This in fact will be going forward a key product for the company. We have seen in the last few months the enormous requirements coming from different parts of the world for acrylamide powder made outside of China. And now, due to the lockdowns which have happened in China, the requirement for a non-Chinese source has increased tremendously. So we are just awaiting the approvals. In fact, our REACH registration that we have taken also covers the acrylamide powder as well as the acrylamide liquid. So once these approvals are through, we are able also to supply in Europe as well. On the polycarboxylic acid, this is currently in the R&D phase. This is a product which is used together with these ceramic binders that we produce and supply into the ceramic tile industry. So our expectation is that this will help us to expand our market reach and also will help reduce the dependence of our clients on our competitors and move more of their dependence onto our products. Regarding polyacrylamide solid, in March this year, we have appointed a new head of technology. It's a new position that we created, and we have hired a head of technology with good experience and vast experience in the polymer field. We have also now in the process of inducting a R&D/technical advisor from Japan, who is very well versed with this technology and with this segment. And he is expected to join our organization by the end of this month. This will definitely fast track and boost the development of our PAM process. And as I mentioned earlier, we have also created a new PAM sales team, which once this plant is ready, will be already in place in order to start pushing the product into the market as soon as possible. Another area which I wanted to share with all of you is that we have decided to, going forward, to be a more and more R&D focused organization. We are now in the process of looking for land to set up a new world-class R&D center somewhere in the outskirts of Mumbai. This lab will focus on product development as well as process development and application development. The area that we are most keenly looking at is the green chemistries, especially when we talk about production of products which are traditionally made from petrochemicals to be made instead from biorenewable sources, such as bioethanols or glycerols and other materials which are renewable in nature. So this is a focus area for us. We are already discussing with overseas technology companies as certain startups, as well as we are already discussing with certain universities and research institutes for taking forward some of their work, especially regarding process development on some of these tech catalysts and other things that they have developed. Besides this, of course, one of our key strengths of our company is the relationships that we have with our various principals, both from the distribution space and from the manufacturing space. We are in active discussions with these principals to discuss the possibilities and the feasibilities of introducing some of their existing technologies and also some of their new technologies for setting up new and additional production facilities in India. So this is another area that we are actively currently working on. In the past webinars, I've received many questions regarding capacities and capex and things like this. So we decided to create a chart just to help everybody understand some of the status of where we are right now. So as you can see, we have put it into 6 different categories: acrylamide liquid, polyacrylamide liquid, NMA, acrylamide solid, polycarboxylic acid, and PAM solids. So this chart will show you the various capacities that we have or we are installing, the capex which has been incurred or needs to be incurred, and the different technologies, as well as the further possibilities, the further capacities that we can add at our existing site for the same products. The last column talks about the available capacity for growth. Now, this basically, what this means is basically the unallocated capacities or the capacities which we have for new business development, which are available with us. So this is the kind of chart. Maybe this will help everybody understand a little bit more about our activities. Thank you very much. And I would now like to receive any questions that anybody may have.
Thank you, Anupji. Thank you, Amriji. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may please raise your hand and we'll unmute you to take your question. You just hang on for a couple of minutes for some questions to line up. Okay. The first question is from Ankit Babil. Ankit, please go ahead.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you are, Ankit.
Hello.
Ankit, you're audible. Please go ahead.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes,
Sir,
Ankit, you
you
are
people
audible.
are mute, sir.
Sorry? Anupji, you are on mute right now. We'll have to.
I'm not able to hear, sir. Now you are unmute.
Yeah, we are waiting. We want to hear you. We will answer after we hear you.
Ankit,
Sorry,
please
sir,
go ahead
I'm
with
not
your
able
question.
to hear you.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Hello.
Ankit, please go ahead. We can hear you.
Sir, I'm not able to hear you.
1 second. I'll just send a text to Ankit.
Hello, Naveen.
Okay, we have a question from Aman Vij. Aman, please go ahead.
Hello.
Good afternoon, sir. Am I audible?
Yes. Aman, please go ahead.
Yeah, please. So, sir, my first question is on the manufacturing revenue. So, if you can talk about what kind of manufacturing revenue are we targeting for the next year, FY23? That is the first question. And if you can also talk about what was the export contribution of manufacturing revenue for FY22.
Hello.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Aman. So regarding the manufacturing revenue that we are targeting for FY23, the current figure that I have from my sales team is about 170 to 180 crores is the current target that our sales team has given me for FY23. Now, the second question regarding the export ratio within the sales of the manufacturing division. of FY22? This is something I will ask Ambrish to answer.
So thank you, Aman, for your question. We have done about 35% of export sales for the FY22. Out of a total sale of about 106 crores, right? So about 30%, 35%.
And our target for FY23 export sales mix as a percentage of manufacturing revenue?
In the FY23 manufacturing revenue, we have not broken it up that way right now, but we do like to, yes, this growth that I have, the figure I have given you about 170 to 180 crores includes both the sales for export and for domestic. I do not have a breakup in front of me right now, so I will not be able to answer that question currently.
Sure, sir. My next question is on the acrylamide liquid side. You have talked about this freight cost being a big issue. So if you can talk about at what freight cost does it become viable to export to the countries which already have acrylamide players, and which are these countries, if you can talk about the same, as well as what is the opportunity to export in terms of tons? Is it like 1,000 tons, 2,000 tons, or is it much bigger also?
Okay, so the market which we normally talk about when we're talking about the exports not being feasible is the US market. The US market is a very large consumer of acrylamide, but they also have a lot of local production. So currently the acrylamide used in America, liquid acrylamide at least, is fully domestically sourced. They also use acrylamide powders, and acrylamide powders, as I mentioned earlier, is only made in China currently. So that is a fully imported product. When it comes to acrylamide powder, the freight costs do not make a difference because they are anyway importing it from China. They can very well import it from India as well. There is no issue there. So, but when it comes to liquid, naturally their local charges, their local freights also are very high in the US. But still, the freights from the US, the freights from India to the US is almost $14,000-15,000 right now for one container, and the product itself maybe $25,000, for one container, and the freight itself is $15,000, so it doesn't become viable for them. So I cannot tell you a fixed amount that if it becomes this, it'll be cheaper. But we're expecting if the freights are maybe around 40% cheaper, we should be good to go. And the volumes we can expect to sell in the US could be anywhere around 3,000 to 4,000 tons a year.
Sure. And you're not including the acrylamide powder sale, right? This is only acrylamide liquid you're talking about in 3,000-4,000 tons.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The acrylamide powder will go regardless of the freight.
Sure, sir. My next question is on the PAM liquid side. If you can talk about any number of customers you have, as well as are there any big customers which we still have not broken through? And what kind of utilization levels are we targeting for PAM liquid for FY23?
Okay. Again, I don't have number of customer information with me right now, but the large customers that you're talking about. So you see, we are basically targeting our sales in a different fashion right now. We're not necessarily going after the large customers. As I mentioned earlier in one of my webinars, the Morbi market consists of hundreds of companies which manufacture ceramic tiles. So, and each of these companies will have other sister concerns there. So even though they may not be a name that like a Kajaria or something like that, they are quite large in their consumption themselves, because they work mostly on the export markets, or they work as subcontractors, or contract manufacturers for some of these larger brands. So the names are not very important when we sell the material. What we're looking at is selling to companies which have a good payment record, selling to companies which have a good QC system, selling to companies which have a decent management. These are the areas which we focus on when we are choosing our clients. Also, we are also selective when we sell products. We do receive inquiries from various other companies, but we choose not to do business with many of them, considering their track records of payments, considering their reputation in the market. A lot of these things are there, and some of the big players also don't necessarily have a very great reputation when it comes to making payments on time. So our selection of clients is not based on their size or whether their product is a well-known brand. That is not really our way of choosing clients. So what was your third question?
What kind of utilization are we targeting for this?
So we have a lot of capacity for the PAM liquid, and we are targeting in this current financial year to come up to around 60% of that capacity utilization in this in FY23.
And just sorry, what was it for FY22 for the full year?
For the full year, I don't have a number in front of me right now, but I would think it would probably be around close to 30%, 30 to 40%, maybe 30%. Yes.
Sure, sir. If you can talk
Aman,
about.
Aman, can we
Yeah.
take your questions once the others have had an opportunity?
Yeah, sure, sir. Sure.
Thank you.
I'll get back in queue.
Please. The next question is from Ankit Babil. Ankit, please go ahead.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are. Please.
Yeah, sorry for the inconvenience. So first of all, thanks for giving the revenue and EBITDA breakup of distribution and manufacturing businesses. And I hope you'll continue this on a quarterly basis. Thanks for that. So my first question is in continuation of what I had asked you in the last quarter. So this acrylamide powder has a revenue potential of 85 crores and NMA, which has a revenue potential of 35 crores. So you people have added capacities of around 120 crores sales potential from these two products. So how much ramp up do you expect from these two products in FY23? You did mention about NMA at 600 tons, which I presume would be around 10 crores. What would be the revenue potential from the acrylamide powder in FY23? And what are the EBITDA margins in these two products?
Okay, I cannot share EBITDA margins for each product because that is obviously not something I would like my customers to know. So I cannot provide you product-wise EBITDA margin for any particular product. At the last webinar, you had requested that we start providing a breakup of distribution and manufacturing profitability, and we have done that as I promised in the last webinar. But I cannot now further break that up into product-wise EBITDA margins. That's just not going to happen. So I'm sorry for that. But regarding the powder acrylamide, we are currently being very conservative, but we have a potential, like we said, is around 85 crores. In our projections for next year, we are trying to keep that conservative, and we are considering a lower number for now, which is maybe around 30 to 40 crores. And on the NMA, currently let us focus first on the domestic market, where we have this 600 tons of a visible market, which is currently undergoing approvals. So we've considered to be 10 crores. So that breakup that I gave you, 480 crores, you can consider that, let's say 10 crores is approximately for NMA, and PAM solids would be probably around, in fact, from what I see here, PAM solid, we have only, acrylamide solid. Acrylamide solid, we have actually only considered in here around 20 crores. So, but I expect, my personal expectation is that the acrylamide solid will be higher.
That's helpful. So I'm sorry, I didn't get that 480 crore number. What was that?
180 crores. 180 crores is the manufacturing revenue expected in FY23.
Okay. Okay. So actually, my other question was linked to that, but you have already answered it. I was asking that excluding these two products, your existing manufacturing revenue was 106 crore with a 23% kind of margin. So where do you see this revenue ramping up in this year? So, but you said that 180 will be the total including of one, right?
Your voice is very not very clear, but we have the manufacturing revenue we are targeting. What I've got from my sales team is 180 crores. And yeah, the NMA is around 10 crores out of that. And the acrylamide solid is around 20 crores. That what they have given is 20 crores, which I expect actually to be more than 20 crores. And the balance is 150 crores. So that comes to 180 crores.
That's helpful, sir. And lastly, sir, the growth and profitability, profitability have given, but what growth you are looking in the distribution business, which did around 234 crores of revenue?
So we're looking at around a 10 to 15% growth in the distribution business.
Okay. I'll come back in the queue, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Ankit. The next question is from Nagabrahma GV. Please go ahead.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're audible. Please go ahead.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for the opportunity and congratulations on a good set of numbers. Sir, a few questions. One, you have given the capacity utilization for PAM liquid. How much was it for acrylamide liquid in FY22?
Okay, so in FY22, the capacity utilization for PAM, acrylamide liquid was around 50%.
And how much you're targeting it in FY23, sir?
So we are expecting that to be, it all depends really on the freight situation. And like I said, we are already covering the domestic market as well as we can with the market share, a very high market share. So the growth will really come from the export side. But what we are considering right now is around 60 to 70%.
Okay. Sir, my second question is regarding the acrylamide solid. You mentioned we are waiting for some government approval. What is this? Is this the pollution approval you're talking, or is this environmental approval, or is there any other government departmental approval?
Yeah, it's just a pollution control department's approval. Since it is a new product to be added in our current setup, we have our licenses for acrylamide liquid. So this is the acrylamide powder. So just change from liquid to powder, that's all.
Okay. Sir, you just gave the target of around 30 to 40 crores of this product sale in FY23. I'm a little bit confused in the sense we are coming up with only 3,600 metric ton capacity, and there is a huge demand. You have mentioned that it is there in US and there is no other manufacturer outside China, all that. But in spite of, and also you have given in the investor presentation that there is already orders in hand also. With all this in background, so this 30 to 40 crores means it is approximately 50% capacity utilization only. Why are you so conservative?
Just, it's always better to be conservative and not let down the investors like you. So we just want to be a little conservative sometimes. But your calculations and your understanding is very correct. Yes, we have chosen to be conservative. But yes, we are, like I said, this is the figures I have from my sales team, but I'm expecting much more than what they have said.
Okay, fair enough. That is good to hear then. Sir, then you have mentioned in the presentation that you're applying for 20 KT capacity for EC clearance. That is, we already have for additional 3,600 from the EC, right? Approval is already there for additional 3,600?
No, so I cannot get into the details of the permissions, how we have taken it right now, because I don't have the details with me.
Okay.
But we have basically a current plant manufacturing acrylamide and various other products. So we have applied for a certain, I believe it's on that 50% capacity increase. There is some certain section under which you can apply for product addition. So it has been done under that sector. The EC is there for more than 3,600 tons, but the plant that we have set up is for 3,600. That we are setting up is for 3,600 metric tons. So it's not restricted by the EC, but when we want to make more acrylamide powder, then it will go beyond our existing overall EC that we have. So that is why we are considering to set up to file for a separate EC for that total volume. It's very complicated. I mean, I'll not be able to.
I agree. Okay, I'll rephrase my question. What I want to know is, in case if the demand picks up and you are able to run, let's say, 100% capacity utilization by year end, what I want to know is, can you add another 3,600 metric ton capacity without any delay? That was the intention of that question.
Yes, I can.
You can.
Yes.
And okay, very nice. So that means that can be
3,600 tons is not a capacity which is restricted by the EC. It is a capacity which we have only chosen to set up initially in the plant. The capacity we can do for the acrylamide solid is more than the 3,600 tons. 3,600 is only our plant capacity, not the EC capacity.
Agreed.
Okay.
So in case if the demand picks up, so you can add another 3,600 or whatever the capacity based on the demand at a short notice. That's all I just wanted.
Within our overall EC, whatever is a total maximum possible, we can set it up. Yes.
Okay. And I know you don't give the margins, but the margins for this product should be north of 25%. Is a correct assessment?
I will not comment anything on product-wise margins.
Okay.
I can only, the reason we were not sharing all these times the Ebitda margins separately for manufacturing and distribution was because earlier we were only manufacturing acrylamide. And the moment I put that number, everybody knows, my customers know, everybody knows what is my margin on that product. And so I do not share any individual product margins with anybody. So I cannot answer this question.
No problem, sir. My last question is about the polyacrylamide solid plant. You're adding a lot of R&D staff and making all that. And I think you have also had mentioned that you would require minimum 6 months for the pilot plant trials and all. And thereafter, if everything goes well, you will go for the construction of the plant. My only question is, what are the chances of getting success in this pilot plant?
The chance of success is very high. We are not worried about not having success in this development. That is not really our major concern as of now. Our concern is only to make sure that the process that we finally choose and the process that we finally implement is efficient and competitive in the long run. That is our number one criteria for the technology selection and for our R&D working. So, but whether we can successfully produce it or not, of course, we have already successfully produced it in our lab many times. So that is not the production of it itself is not the concern. Our concern is, like I said, to make sure we have the best technology and the most competitive technology available for us.
Okay, fair enough. Sir, just a follow-up.
Naga,
just a follow-up of this.
We'll have to cut in here because there's a long list of participants.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sir.
So please join the queue.
Thank you, sir. All the best.
Thank you.
Friends, I request you to limit yourself to only 2 questions because there are a lot of participants waiting in queue. Next question is from Pranay Jain. Pranay, please go ahead.
Thank you. Hope you all can hear me.
Yes, you're audible, Pranay.
Great. Congratulations on a strong FY22 despite the challenges that we are seeing. Just 2 simple questions. One, given that freight logistics challenges are tapering slightly, wanted to understand Q1, Q2, how do you believe this scenario is shaping up for the industry and you?
So So when we talk about, see, a lot of people are facing difficulties in freight and logistics on their procurement side as well as their sales side. Let me be clear that on the procurement side, we are not facing any difficulties with freight or logistics, except that some of our in our distribution business, some of the products that we want to sell are received later than our expected dates. So on the logistics side, on our procurement, that is the only place where we suffer sometimes, where we don't get the volumes that we require on time. On the export side, the freight problem is really only restricting our growth. It is not restricting any of our existing business, but mainly it is restricting our growth. So as the freights will start to streamline, like it is which we see now that is starting to slowly come down, we expect our growth to be hastened.
Understood. So, given the earlier comment you made on 180 crore revenue expected from the manufacturing and maybe 15% on the distribution side, the ballpark number comes to about 450 crores for FY23. Extending that run rate, can we look forward to, let's say, 580 to 600 crore kind of top line in FY24? And also over the next 2 years, what would be your EBITDA margin aim, given there are some new products on stream, plus you all are expanding your export markets? So just wanted to understand what is the revenue and margin guidance for these 2 years and the capex that you will be incurring in the next 12 to 24 months.
I think that was a lot of questions all combined into one. So if you could split that into individual questions, it'll be easier. I think you asked like 6 questions in that one question.
Just 3 parts. I'll reiterate. Revenue for FY24 along with EBITDA margins for 23-24 that you all are aiming. That's one part.
So number one, okay. So we have not worked out any such numbers as of today. So for me to share a number just off the cuff would not be right. Maybe in the next quarter webinar, I will come prepared with a number for you to share at that time.
Okay, so at least indicatively 20% kind of CAGR growth can be anticipated for 2 years?
I will not comment because I have not given it the thoughts that I should give it before I answer your question.
Okay, so, and the blended EBITDA margin, is any commentary on that possible? What range you would be aiming?
I would expect to maintain a certain level, but again, like I said, when I've not given it the thought and sat down with the numbers, I would not be comfortable to share something with you without doing my homework.
Okay, but so from FY22, are you penciling an improvement of, let's say, 150 200 basis points? Is something on that side possible?
So see, the business that we do, we don't target certain margins. You see, the way the business is done is that you basically focus on your cost under control and maximizing your revenues, maximizing your profit wherever it's possible. So we don't sit down with a number and say, okay, I need to have this margin, otherwise I won't sell my product. It doesn't really work like that. So the EBITDA margins are a result of the work that we put in. That's not the goal of the work that we put in. So it's not, if you say, what is my targeted EBITDA margin? I cannot answer that question because that's not how we work.
Okay. And the last bit was on Capex plan for this and next year.
Yeah. So the Capex plan, the Capex chart has been shared earlier in the presentation. As you can see, there is some Capex spending. Can you share that screen again? Just give me a second, please. Just 1 second, please.
The one prior to this?
I don't know, it's not going back. Okay, wait, I have the sheet here. Okay. So it's Yeah. So if you can see in the capex which is pending to be made, there is some capex pending to be made for the acrylamide solid. There is some capex pending to be made on the polycarboxylic acid, and there is the more or less the entire capex which is pending to be made on the PAM solid. So these are the chart here will really tell you, will answer your questions. But the PAM solid capex is what is expected to be done in this year and next year.
So the quantum of capex which is getting operationalized, let's say in the next 6 months or 12 months, can you just give us an idea on that?
These are already operationalized. These, whatever capex has been spent, they're already operationalized, except for the acrylamide solid, which has slight capex pending and the approvals to come through. And then of course the carboxylic acid, that is again an area where, as we mentioned already, that it's in the R&D stage. So that capex will be done very shortly, but that's less than 1 crore. So that's not a significant capex. And the PAM solid is the capex which needs to be done, which will start later this year.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Wishing you all the very best.
Thank you, Pranay. We have Rohit Sinha from Sunidhi Securities. A reminder, please restrict yourself to just 2 questions. Thank you. Rohit, please go ahead.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for taking my question. So just 2 questions. First of all, how has been the technology for this acrylamide has been sourced for us for manufacturing these products? I mean, these are in-house developed or we are sourcing it from outside?
Which product are you talking about?
Acrylamide. I mean, the main product right now which we are manufacturing, and possibly for others also, if you can share.
Yeah, so see, all of this is already covered in the webinar presentation that was provided by Mr. Daga. Just for all the investors here on the call, what we try to do is, based on the previous webinars and the questions that we receive in the previous webinars, we actively try to understand those questions, and we try to answer those questions in our presentations directly, so that the questions do not come over and over and again. So, this is already covered very much in the webinar presentation that has been already presented by Mr. Ambrish Daga. So I will answer it again in any case. But the acrylamide liquid is a technology that we have from Mitsui Chemicals of Japan, and all the other products that we have are processes which are developed in-house.
Okay, thank you. And just for suggestions, if I don't find this presentation available on BSC or on the company's website, so if we can share this presentation with the community, then that would be helpful.
Yeah, the presentation was given today, just about some time ago during this call. So it will be published right after this call is over. It will be put up on the BSC website.
Okay.
And it will also be available on our corporate website.
Okay, sir. Second question is, just wanted to understand how our contracts are being made with the customers for all these products. I mean, how the pricing of products has been done, and I mean, are we on a per kg realization factor, or we focus on Ebitda per ton for all the products?
So that's all depends from product to product, and also depends from customer to customer. On our distribution business, also we have certain customers where we work on formula-based pricing, which is related to either some raw material index or something like that. On the acrylamide business, also we have certain clients where the pricing is based on a raw material index, international index, plus certain spreads and certain costs. So that's it really depends from product to product and from customer to customer.
Okay, so in that case, I mean, how do we see these realizations would be in a rising or rising price trend or a downside price trend?
So if it is formula based, then in a rising market, if this quarter the prices are if the raw material prices are going up this quarter, we are able to then increase the prices in the next quarter. It's usually done with a 1 quarter lag. So there's always going to be some lag in the price changes.
Okay, so all I mean all these increased in raw material prices are normally passed on.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, okay, so that is from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohit. We have Anurag Patil, the next set of questions. Anurag, please go ahead. Anurag, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Yes, yeah, sorry for that. Yeah, sir, given the recent volatility in the raw material prices, how is the current quarter panning out in terms of outlook on the margin side? I'm not looking for a number, but just a broad direction.
Okay. So the raw material scenario is again is very volatile. When we talk about acrylamide, the main raw material that is used to make acrylamide is raw material called acrylonitrile. Now, acrylonitrile prices have been going up and down very frequently. What we try to do is we do our procurement at all the different price levels to ensure that we have a decent average basket of our raw material pricing. So there will be certain quarters where there may be carry forward stocks from a previous quarter where the raw material cost was higher, which will get affected into the profitability for that quarter. And there will be quarters which is just the opposite also happens. So looking at quarterly numbers always becomes a little bit tricky, because you may have certain overhangs from the previous quarter which affect the profitability in that quarter. So yeah, so it's something that needs to be seen more on a longer term basis, because these raw materials are not made in India. They all have to be imported. Acrylonitrile, a product that I will book in January, as according to the January prices, will reach me only at the end of March, which means I will use it only in April. So there is like a entire quarter's lag which takes place when between the procurement decision and the actual. So there's always going to be a little bit of a lag throughout the year. So you will see certain quarters with a higher profit also because of that, and certain quarters with a lower profit also because of that.
Okay, and sir, can you please share the current acrylamide prices?
Yeah, so currently acrylamide is being sold at anywhere between 95 to 105 rupees a kilo on the acrylamide liquid side.
Okay, sir. That's it from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anurag. We have Vignesh Iyer with his questions. Vignesh, please go ahead. Vignesh, please unmute yourself and go ahead. Vignesh?
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, Vignesh, please go ahead. Vignesh, we can hear you. Please go ahead with your question.
Hello.
Yes, Vignesh, please go ahead.
Hello.
Vignesh, can you hear me? I guess there's some
Hello.
problem with his line. We'll just take the next question. Vignesh, can you hear us?
I think we can move on to the next.
Yeah. Aman, please go ahead with your questions, but request you to just limit them to 1 or 2.
Sure, sir. So my next question is on the competitive scenario. So what we have heard from the industry that there is a change in management on the biggest player in industry, and they are becoming little aggressive if you can talk about the same, what you are seeing at the ground in both competition in acrylamide as well as PAM liquid.
Sorry, there was a lot of noise. You asked about the change in the competitor, something?
Yeah, so I was talking about the change in management on the competitor side. And if you have seen the impact of that change, is there more competition in any of the our products like acrylamide or PAM liquid, or maybe there is a change in the working capital terms that the competitor gives. So we need to also do that. If you can talk about any changes you have felt on the ground.
So there definitely has been a change in the management that happened maybe around 6 months ago. The management of our competitor has changed. Because of that, whether we have seen more competition, I would not think so. In fact, I think the new management is more pragmatic, and the new management is more aware of costs, whereas maybe the previous management was somehow cost averse and would be, perhaps sometimes we would wonder why they would be selling products at certain prices. But I think the new management actually is helping to level the playing field rather than disrupting the playing field. So no, we have not faced any adverse impact due to the change in the management.
Sure, sir. My next question is on the new hiring side. If you can talk about the same, how many people have been hired till now, and what is our target team for the PAM division, say for FY23 and maybe FY24? What do you have in mind?
You're talking about the sales team for PAM liquid?
Yes, PAM division, anything, sales team as well as the technical team, which you are also setting up. So basically, that division will be your focus area. Just want to understand your thoughts. How do you see that team scaling up? What is the number now? What are we targeting in the next 2 years?
Okay, so the PAM liquid is what I believe we're talking about here. So in the PAM liquid, we have not made any major changes in terms of infrastructure, because we have sufficient infrastructure already in place, especially in Morbi, to handle any level of growth. In terms of the manpower, yes, we are in the process of hiring more people. I believe we have hired also a new person recently. So yes, manpower hiring is something which is going on. Like I said in one of my earlier slides, that this last 2-3 months we have decided to not be very aggressive in that market, because this is a time when many of the customers are actually looking to find new suppliers, and many of the times these customers are looking to find a new supplier only because they do not want to pay their existing suppliers due to their financial constraints. So we do not want to encourage that type of activity where we come into the market and we start supplying a product to company A, and that company A decides that since now he's got a new credit line with us, he doesn't need to pay his previous supplier and he can delay that payment even further. So we don't like to be treated that way, and we also would not like our competitors also be treated that way. And so we don't encourage such type of customer acquisition or such type of customer changing to us. So the last 3-4 months, especially when the financial conditions in Morbi have been quite tight, we have in fact restrained ourselves from that customer addition in these circumstances. So, but going forward, we are expecting the financial situations to start improving in Morbi going forward from June onwards. So once that situation is better, we will aggressively start
back in queue.
Yeah, please.
We
Go
have
ahead, go
around
ahead.
we have around 6 people there.
Sure, sir. I'll get back into.
We have around
Thank-
6 people. Yeah, I've answered your question, I believe.
Thank you, Aman. The next question is from Vishal Jaju. Vishal, please unmute yourself and go ahead. Vishal?
Yes. Hello, team. Am I audible?
Yes, please go ahead.
I would just, this is just sort of a strategic question. Currently we have done a lot of capex, and for the next 1 to 2 years, we are all set for the capex of PAM liquid and all. And I just want to have two questions. What is the expected capacity utilization we are planning for PAM liquid? Like till what time frame we are expecting PAM liquid to be, at its complete utilization? And if it is sort of like for FY24, we are expecting it to be completely utilized. Then my another question is, what will be our next growth driver for the company, as most of our products will be under like utmost optimum capacity utilization. So what will be our next growth driver which company is planning?
Can you share that screen? Is it working now? Yeah. So if you look at this chart, I think it answers most of your questions over here. The growth that will come is shown in the last column, right? The capex has already been done for these 3 products, and this is available capacity for growth. So we expect that we can still grow our acrylamide business by that 30% of that capacity. Polyacrylamide, we are currently utilizing, let's say, around 40%. So we have another 60% available for growth. That 60% will not necessarily get used up immediately. It will take its time. So, as again with the NMA, the same thing, we have 70% available for growth. And then if you see the other 3 products, these are all the products which are going to still come in during FY23, 24, 25. So these are all the additional growth areas which are there. Plus, if you see, we have also added a column which says further possibility. This means these are the additional capacities we can add at our existing site for the same products. So even if let's say we are doing PAM solid, if we exhaust 10,000 ton capacity, we have a possibility to set up another 10,000 ton plant at the same site. Similarly with acrylamide solid, we have a possibility to still set up another 20,000 ton plant at the same site. So this, I believe, answers most of your questions in this chart.
Okay.